Happy New Year and welcome to another midweek recharge, a New Year recharge. As we bid farewell to 2020 and enter a new year together, I am so very thankful for the faithfulness and generosity of our church family. It is nothing short of amazing to me that our church finished the year 2020 with offerings well over our budget requirements and over our expenses by an extraordinary amount. The final figures are not quite ready to be released, but I can tell you that the report is nothing short of amazing. And I want you to just think about that. In a year filled with the potential for disaster, in the midst of great uncertainty and anxiety and tension, God's people have remained faithful. Of course, I realize that a church's financial support is not the only indicator of spiritual health, but it does say something very important about the nature and character of our church family. What it says to me is that we are as determined as ever before to fulfill our mission as a church and reaffirm our commitment to our Greater Way covenant, to love God, love our neighbors, and make disciples. On January the 1st, I began my 20th year at Earl Street. To serve this wonderful church has been the greatest honor of my life. We've been through a lot together, and I believe our best days are still ahead of us. In March of 2022, our church will be celebrating our 100th anniversary as a church. We have such a rich heritage to celebrate and such a bright future ahead of us. But many of us awakened on January 1st to face a stark reality. As eager as we were to get 2020 behind us, we awoke on January 1st and realized that the world did not change overnight. 2021 is starting out the same way 2020 ended. And some of us are realizing that whether we like it or not, we still have some waiting to do. The early part of Habakkuk's prophecy in chapters 1 and 2 is a conversation which he mediated between God and God's people. It was a dialogue in two cycles. First, the people asked the Lord, "How long shall I cry for help and you will not hear?" The Lord answered, "I'm doing a work in your days that you would not believe if told." In the second cycle of the dialogue, the people cried out to the Lord again, "Why do you look on faithless people and are silent when the wicked swallow up those more righteous than they?" The Lord answered, "For still the vision awaits its time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay, but the righteous live by their faith." It was as if the Lord were speaking to his people then and now, saying everything will come to pass on schedule. It may seem like nothing has happened. It may seem interminably slow, but I am doing something right now under the cover of darkness that you would not believe even if someone told you. The only way you can see it is with eyes of faith. And in the meantime, you just have to wait. Sue Monk Kidd tells of a time when she went to a monastery for a retreat. And she said that one morning after morning prayers, she walked to the edge of a pond and sat on the grass. She was trying to just be still and wait in the moment, but almost instantly her inner chaos rose up. The need to keep moving, to act, to solve everything overpowered her, and she got to her feet. As she returned to her guest quarters, she noticed a monk, ski cap pulled over his ears, sitting perfectly still beneath a tree. She said there was such reverence in his silhouette, such tranquil sturdiness, that she paused to watch. He was the picture of waiting. Later, she sought him out and said, I saw you today sitting beneath the tree, just sitting there so still. How is it that you can wait so patiently in the moment? I can't seem to get used to the idea of doing nothing." The monk broke into a wonderful grin and said, "Well, there's the problem right there, young lady. You've bought into the cultural myth that when you're waiting, you're doing nothing." Then he took his hands and placed them on her shoulders, peered straight into her eyes and said, "I hope you'll hear what I'm about to tell you. I hope you'll hear it all the way down to your toes. When you're waiting, you're not doing nothing. You're doing the most important something there is. You're allowing your soul to grow up. If you can't be still and wait, you can't become what God created you to be." In these uncertain days, if we are waiting on God, then our souls are growing up. And a related point is this: we should make sure that we are waiting for God and not the other way around. As the monk reminded Sue, waiting does not mean doing nothing. So is there something we can or should be doing while we wait? Certainly. Sometimes we are inclined to whine and moan while we wait because God is not moving at our preferred pace, rather than looking for ways in which God may be at work even while we wait, so that we may get in on the action. God is busy even while we are waiting, and our task, indeed our privilege, is to join God and participate with God in the meantime. Many of us are inclined to think of waiting as a passive, inactive time, but waiting on the Lord is anything but inactive. While we wait on Him, there are things we can do to maximize the meantime that God has given us. We can pray with a passion to know God, to discover God's purposes, and to discern God's ways. We can be watching circumstances and asking God to interpret them by revealing a divine perspective. We can be sharing with other believers to find out what God is saying to them and to seek their wisdom, insight, and counsel. We can always be active in asking, seeking, and knocking. And we can remain faithful and obedient to what God has already called us to do, all the while trusting God to be busy in the meantime, preparing us for what is yet to be. How do we discipline ourselves to wait for the Lord? Habakkuk said, the Lord said, by faith. That's how the people of God have always done it. This answer is the ultimate answer to all the prophets' questions. It's the heart of the Lord's answer, the only explanation given in response to the questions voiced in Habakkuk's prophecy. The message to be permanently etched in stone is this: the righteous live by faith. It takes faith to believe that God is working out a purpose when there is no immediate evidence to support that belief. The writer of Hebrews defined faith as the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is its own evidence. Precisely when God seems to be absent, silent, or even unconcerned, faith steps in, slows us down, and keeps us from taking matters into our own hands. Faith is what makes our waiting meaningful and purposeful. It takes the long view. In fact, it believes what it cannot even see. There is no fast food version of it. There is no McFaith. God is not just a rescuer. God is a midwife, one who comes to be with us in our pain, to wait with us. Waiting must precede celebration, and often there is no shortcut to joy. Sometimes we achieve our deepest progress standing still. Sometimes we must go inward before we can go forward. Waiting calls us to be in this moment or season of our lives without leaning so far into the future that we tear our roots from the present. The hardest part about waiting is that it is, in the words of Henry Nouwen, open-ended. It means giving up control over our future and trusting God to define our lives in God's terms and in God's time. Nouwen may be identifying why it is so difficult for us to wait. It's a reminder that we are not in control. We can wait in rebellion, we can wait in resignation, but those who are righteous wait on tiptoe in anticipation of the work God will do, which we would not believe now if someone told us. Sometimes God says yes, sometimes God says no, and sometimes God says wait. And when God says wait, we can be sure that God has something in store for us worth waiting for, that we would not believe if told. When we wait, we are not doing nothing. We are living by faith, and our souls are growing up. Happy New Year.